Right guys, it's that time of the week and we are back for our Championship score predictions. 12 big games to preview in today's video. As always, I want to hear your verdicts on these games in the comments down below. How do you see them unfolding? Of course, we've had plenty of action in midweek as well in the EFL Cup. We've got a few Championship sides playing tonight as well. So do drop me a comment if you went to any of those matches. But without any further ado, let's jump into these predictions. So starting out on Friday night at the King Power for Leicester up against Birmingham. An interesting matchup here. Now the bookies do have Leicester as the slight favourites coming into this one, but I don't know, I could really see this one going either way. I still don't think we've seen the best of either Leicester or Birmingham. Points-wise, it's been a really good start to the season for Blues, but performance-wise, I still feel like there's a bit more to come from them. Obviously, last time out in the league, beat Oxford 1-0. I think this is going to be a completely different game than that one was. Against Oxford, they were playing against a very deep line, trying to break them down. Leicester are going to come at them, but equally are going to leave those gaps in defence that Birmingham can look to exploit. For Leicester, been a real mixed bag their start to the season, hasn't it? Opening day against Sheff Wednesday, they just about got the job done, but performance-wise weren't great. Against North End, weren't great whatsoever, and then obviously managed to grind out that great result against Charlton last time out, but once again faced some quite big chances in that game and looked a little bit vulnerable from some set-piece situations, but had Salasic to thank for keeping that game in Leicester's favour. I see both teams scoring in this game. I think they've each got too much quality in the front end of the pitch for that not to happen. Score prediction for me, I've kicked the weekend off with a 1-1 draw. Tough one to separate at the moment, those two. Next then to the Riverside for Middlesbrough up against Sheff Utd. Can Borough maintain their perfect start to the season? Well, it was a great result last time out away at Norwich, winning 2-1. Back at the Riverside here and going against the Sheff Utd side, who are badly lacking confidence at the moment. Worth remembering that neither of these sides have been in EFL Cup action in midweek, obviously. Both lost in the first round, so we'll be fully focused on this game coming into the weekend and we'll have had a decent recovery from last time out. For Sheff United, I didn't think they were as bad against Millwall as they have been previously. They got in some really good areas in that game, but just couldn't find a way past Bender, could they? And I think that eventually, surely the penny has to drop for that group of players and Ruben Sellers, because they're too good to carry on losing matches in the manner that they have been recently. But when you're looking for a bit of form, a stroke of luck, or just something to go your way, going up against a Middlesbrough side who have won all 3 of their opening matches, this isn't the sort of fixture you want at the moment, is it? Score prediction for me, I'm going to go 1-0 Middlesbrough in that game. I'm going to fancy them for another clean sheet. Next up to Loftus Road for QPR up against Charlton Athletic. Now, I might be going crazy here, but I think this game could be quite low scoring. QPR are coming off the back of a 7-1 battering away at Coventry, and I think that Julian Stefan will just want to keep this game as tight as possible, because you can imagine what the atmosphere is going to be like in Loftus Road. If Charlton get a couple of goals and you're coming off the back of that dreadful performance last time out, things could turn quite toxic quite quickly in that scenario. So with QPR looking a little bit light at the moment in a couple of positions because of all the injuries they've got, this is the sort of game where I think they're just going to look to sort of take the sting out of it a little bit. And it's not really in Charlton's nature away from home to really go all guns blazing at a side either. I think they're going to be a little bit more reserved and sort of wanting to feel QPR out. Now, Charlton bring their own threats into this one. I thought they got really unlucky over the weekend to lose that game against Leicester. On another day could have easily snatched not just a point, but could have won it with some of the chances they had. Away from home though, I feel like they'll be playing a little bit more cautiously in this one. Am I going crazy here? I wouldn't be totally surprised if this one ends goalless. I just think that QPR are going to have to hammer home those defensive instincts after shipping 7 to Coventry last time. Score prediction there, I'm going to go for a 0-0 draw. Next up to the Bet365 for Stoke up against West Brom, and I think there's been loads to like about both of these sides so far this season. Stoke have been flawless, 3 wins from 3, West Brom 2 wins and a draw. Worth considering that West Brom have had a slightly longer recovery coming into this game, as obviously they've not been in EFL Cup action in midweek, whereas Stoke have, but everything about Stoke has been pretty positive lately, and you just fancy them going into most matches right now to score at least a couple of goals. Sorba Thomas has been in prolific form for this start of the season, Manhoef on the other side, Baker chipping in with the goals from midfield as well, and Mabama leading the line really well. He was obviously sent off last time out away at Southampton, but fortunately for Stoke, he was able to serve that suspension in midweek in the EFL Cup, so will be eligible to play this fixture. I've really liked the look of Stoke in these opening 3 matches, but obviously West Brom are no mugs. They got a good win on the road last time they were away from home against Wrexham as well. I think you've got Hegebo, who runs in behind really well. Some of the players playing off him at the moment have been in good form, Price and Mikey Johnson especially. The head-to-head record between these clubs does favour West Brom. Stoke have only won 1 of their last 7 meetings with the Baggies. But with that being said, with Stoke having home advantage, I'm just going to edge them for this game, I'm going to go 2-1 Stoke, but a meeting of 2 good sides there. Next up, and into the Saturday 3 PM kickoffs, we're going to Ewood Park for Blackburn up against Norwich. Fantastic win for Blackburn on the road last time out in the league, beating Hull 3-0. Todd Cantwell running the show in that one, and I'm sure that he'll be up for this game against his former side. For Norwich, not been the start to the season I think a lot of their fans were anticipating. 2 defeats at Carroll Road. They did win away at Pompey, but did give away some big chances in that game, and on another day, Pompey could have easily got back into that one had they not missed that penalty and a couple of other gilt-edged chances late on. For Norwich, what has been a bit of a concern is just how many shots they've been facing so far this season. So in these opening 3 matches, only QPR, Sheffield Wednesday and Wrexham have faced more shots than Norwich have, and defensively we saw a few lapses from them late on in that first half against Middlesbrough last time out. While Blackburn still feels like are a bit of a working project, they took advantage of Hull being a bit defensively like last time out, I thought. Blackburn still have players in this game who can cause Norwich some real problems here. But on the flip side of that, and the positive spin for Norwich at the moment, is I do see them scoring at least 1 goal in every game they go into at the moment, so I back them for at least a goal in this one. Prediction for me, I'm going to go 2-1 Blackburn. I've just been a bit too concerned with that Norwich back line recently. Next up we go to Ashton Gate for Bristol City up against Hull City. Bristol City had to settle for a point last time out in the league, didn't they? 1-1 away at Derby. Scott Twine with another goal though. He's been in superb form to start this campaign, and you'd fancy him to cause Hull a couple of problems in this game. Like we were just mentioning before when speaking about Blackburn, Hull were definitely defensively very light last time out. You could tell that Charlie Hughes and Semi Ajayi were both out injured, missing their best centre-halves for that game. And it feels like coming into this one, Sergei Kirovic is probably going to be a lot more conservative. Hull probably be willing to take less risks in playing out from the back and look to be a lot more defensively savvy, almost like how they approached that Coventry game on the opening day of the season, where they snatched a point and that one ended goalless. For Bristol City, they've got a few players who can hurt you from different angles, but against those sides who sit off them a little bit, I do think they could cause them a few problems this season. Obviously, they had a few problems at Ashton Gate last time out, struggling to break down Charlton, and that game ended goalless. So a 0-0 in this one wouldn't massively surprise me. I'm just going to say maybe a bit of Scott Twine magic manages to win it for Bristol City. 1-0 Bristol City, I'm saying, for that game. Next up to Portman Road for Ipswich Town up against Derby. Now, is worth considering that Ipswich will have had a bit of a longer recovery coming into this one. Obviously, not any EFL Cup action in midweek, whereas Derby had that game last night against Burnley. It's been over 2 years since these two sides have played each other, by the way, which seems a bit mental, but there's no getting away from it being quite a poor start to the season for both of them, really. Derby have only taken 1 point from their first 3 matches, and Ipswich haven't fared much better, only taking 2 points from those opening 3. Now, I got to see Ipswich up close and personal last time out over the weekend as they visited Deepdale. I thought that while they looked alright on the ball, they obviously had plenty of possession, I think about 75% in that game. They weren't able to craft out many high-quality chances against a Preston side that sat very deep and caused them a lot of problems. You're thinking how John Eustace is probably going to approach this game for Derby. He's going to set them up very deep. They could cause Ipswich the similar sort of problems that they ran into at Deepdale. Probably the most concerning thing from an Ipswich perspective has been that lack of firepower so far. You know, we're 3 games in now and they've still not scored from open play. With that being said, I still think it will only be a matter of time before the penny drops for them. I think there's way too much talent in the attacking third for things not to work for Ipswich eventually, but whether that happens this weekend against Derby, I'm still not sure. Derby have been quite surprisingly slack defensively, but looked a bit better in that department last time out against Bristol City, where they drew at home. I'm going to put my neck out on the line though and say that this is finally the game where some of those Ipswich forward players find a little bit of form. Score prediction, I'm going to go 3-1 Ipswich in that game. I just think they have to come good eventually. Next then we go to the Den for Millwall up against Wrexham. Now I do think it would be absolutely typical Millwall to go away to a place like Sheff Utd last time out in the league, win that 1-1-0, really well taken goal. Defensively they look quite sound, Bender with some big saves to keep the clean sheet. But then to follow that game up with a loss at home against the Wrexham side who haven't really got going yet, that would just be typical Millwall, wouldn't it? With that being said, it does feel like this is a decent point of the season to be playing Wrexham. It feels like they've not quite got that cohesion between a lot of their new signings, really between attack and defence, which is where the problems have cropped up so far, hasn't it? Because when Wrexham do commit to pushing forward, they've got a hell of a lot of quality there and do have quite a few different players that can hurt you and from quite a few different angles. But as we saw in the Sheffield Wednesday game, the second half of that one, against West Brom and late on against Southampton as well, there are cracks in that Wrexham backline, and in their opening 3 matches, they faced 65 shots, which is way more than any other Championship club has in these opening 3 games. So on that basis, you'd fancy Millwall to get a bit of joy in the final third here, or at least have a lot of chances at goal. You always fancy Wrexham to get at least 1 goal in every game they play, but it's that defensive side that worries me a bit. Score prediction, I'm going to go 2-1 Millwall. Fancy them for back-to-back wins in the league. Next then we go to the Kazam for Oxford up against Coventry. Now the fixture list hasn't really worked out too kindly for Oxford, who are playing in the EFL Cup tonight, whereas Coventry were playing last night. So Coventry will have a bit of an extra recovery coming into this one, bit more prep time as well. And they're the team coming into this game with all the momentum. It's crazy really, 12 goals scored in Coventry's opening 3 matches and they failed to score on the opening day of the season. Everything has seemed to go for them in these last couple of matches, hasn't it? Away at Derby and then that bonkers one, that 7-1 win against QPR last time out. And Oxford will come into this looking to be really defensive, I'm sure, looking to stifle a lot of those Coventry threats. Obviously last time out in the league, Oxford went away to a good Birmingham side and that one only ended 1-0. Under Gary Rowett, they're not the sort of side that you'd expect to be shipping, 3, 4, 5 goals in a game, like Coventry are capable of scoring. And Oxford in home matches are always capable of springing a surprise on some of the top sides, I think. But on the evidence that we've seen from both of these in the league so far, I think it's very hard to back against Coventry right now, especially going up against an Oxford side who haven't got any points on the board. Score prediction for me, I'm going to go 3-1 Coventry. Fancy them for a few more goals in that game. After that, we go to Fratton Park for Portsmouth up against Preston. All things considered, I think it's been a pretty decent start to the season for Pompey. They got that good win on opening day away at Oxford. Lost against Norwich after that at home, didn't they? But on another day, definitely could have got something from that game with the amount of chances they had in the second half, and then picked up a good point away at West Brom last time out. My team, Preston North End, though, in many ways, I think have been one of the surprise packages in how well we've started this season, considering how dreadful our form was in the final third of last season. None of that has carried into this season. We're coming off the back of 2 really good wins at Deepdale against Leicester and Ipswich. This, though, will be a completely different game than those have been recently at Deepdale, and it is in away matches like this where North End have come unstuck under Heckingbottom previously. I've always had this game stuck in the back of my mind from when we played Portsmouth away last season. I think it was arguably our worst performance of the season. We couldn't string 2 passes together and Pompey were absolutely all over us. They were suffocating us for the majority of that game. So in some ways, I do have a bit of PTSD from North End going back to Pompey in this one, because when that crowd really gets on top of you, they're creating chance after chance. You can go under, which we did last season. But I'd like to think that North End have a bit more backbone about us at this point in time. I'm going to say that this one ends level. I'm going to go Portsmouth 1, Preston 1, which wouldn't be a bad result, I don't think. After that, we go to Hillsborough for Sheffield Wednesday up against Swansea. In the league last time out, it was a brilliant point that Sheffield Wednesday got away at Wrexham, and on another day could have won that game with the chances they had late on. It was all one-way traffic in that second half, and full credit to that squad for really pulling together in these opening few weeks. They've been a lot more competitive than a lot of people have given them credit for. What could count against them going into a game like this against Swansea, though, is coming off the back of quite a hectic week. Obviously, when you're going from league football to cup football in midweek, then back to league football a couple of days later, when you've got a squad which is as thin as Sheffield Wednesday's is at the moment, and you've not got all those reinforcements to bring into the side, that's where I think Wednesday will become a little bit unstuck in the long run when those 3-game weeks really start to pile up this season. So for Swansea so far, they've been no mugs either. 4 points on the board from their opening 3 matches isn't too shabby of a return. All 3 of their league matches so far have been fairly low marginal, whereby Swansea haven't tended to create loads of chances, but equally they've really not given away a lot to the opposition either. They can certainly hurt you with some of their wide players and the quality they've got in that department. On the balance of it being quite a busy week for Sheff Wednesday, I'm just going to say that Swansea's extra bit of depth will get the job done here. Score prediction, I'll go for a 2-0 Swansea on the road in that game. And then the last game we've got to preview this weekend, it's at Vicarage Road. It's Watford going up against Southampton. Both sides, I think it's fair to say, have been a bit of a mixed bag in these opening 3 matches, each with a win, draw and a loss. They're both on 4 points after their opening 3. Southampton coming off the back of a disappointing loss last time out against Stoke. They were playing that second half, majority of it with a man extra, but still couldn't take advantage. Watford, Imran Louza still suspended. I think this will be the second of his 3-game suspension. But in fairness, they showed that they could cope without him in their away trip to Swansea last time out. Iran Kunda with a beautifully taken free kick before Swansea got back into its second half. Both teams, it still feels like, are somewhat adapting to the league right now. It's obviously 2 new coaches getting to know their players. For that reason, a draw here would not massively surprise me. I'm going to go for a 1-1 between those 2. But there you guys have it. That will now wrap it up for today's video. Thank you very much for tuning in. Make sure to get your score predictions in the comments down below. And if you've not already, make sure to go ahead and check out the Patreon where you can sign up to the Predictions League if you fancy. But other than that, thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you all in the next one.